Hey, good morning, traders. This is my morning brief. I am starting doing this even earlier than normal. We're working a ways away this morning, so I'm going to be leaving early this morning to get to the job site. I had been making a case that we're in a potential buy the dip area for the ZN, so that's our 10-year treasuries, suggesting that yields may have peaked and the yields could start coming back in. And so far this morning, it looks like that thesis is starting to play out. So we are bouncing off the critical buy zone this morning on the ZN. So let's definitely keep a watch on this, suggesting yields will be coming back down. Uh, in that scenario, it's probably going to be more bullish for tech and less so bullish for financials. So in theory, so be very mindful of that scenario in today's trading. Okay, another major driving force for our markets are the carry trade. So we are looking, if you put a look price level here, horizontal line right here. As you can see, we've looked above this prior resistance here on the carry trade, and we're currently back testing it this morning. So kind of technically still a bullish pattern, but this could be in jeopardy, something you want to keep on watch today. So as long as this chart continues to be ascending, that is more bullish for the global equities. Crude continues to be a little bit under pressure here, so be very mindful of that. Um, so basically, we're back down into a potential buy zone here on the crude oil. So we definitely don't want crude to go much lower at all here, in my opinion. Otherwise, we could see a complete reversal of this spike. But in theory, this should be the area that you buy the dip on crude oil. So definitely keep this one on watch and see if that gets supported early on this morning. So as our futures are going here, NQs have got some one of the strongest bids this morning, and as you can see, we came into this fair value gap on our NQs, and we're seeing initial resistance this morning here in our fair value gap on NQs at what could potentially be uh, a resistance high. So be very mindful of that. See how we popped up into that trend line. I based that off of August 1st anchored VWAP and the trend. So, be very mindful of that. The August 1st anchored VWAP. So the beginning of this sell down near the lows here, and gives us a little idea of what current trend we're in. We could very well be coming back down to the bottom of this ascending wedge. So be very mindful of that in your trading. Some things I'm looking at here. ES's similar situation. I took the anchored VWAP off the August near the August lows here, and I also have it off of September with the blue line right there. Came right off that blue line yesterday's open. Had a big rally right into the August trend line. Okay, so we had this big 1 day pop into that. So could this be a blow off top candle? I don't know. We're in all-time highs. I don't know. But could this completely reverse today? So that's a primary thesis that I'm looking at as a potential complete reversal of yesterday's price action in today's session. So uh, that is something that I'm definitely keeping on watch going into today's session, suggesting that could be a topping formation underway here early on in the session. So let's see if it plays out. Similar situation here, guys. So we reached up. You see, based off the August lows anchored VWAP, we came right up. We reached right up into the top of the trend line, suggesting this pattern could have completed here. Okay, we're into a fair value gap here on the Russell. Okay, we're back testing a critical September anchored VWAP trend line support coming into today's session. This is looking quite problematic for today's session, in my opinion. If we lose the pre-market lows here. So be very mindful here. Be very careful if you're trying to push the long side if we start losing the pre-market lows on the Russell. So you can just put yourself in a an alert down here. We don't want to be losing these areas down here. The well, basically 20, 2257 is critical. We don't really want to start losing that area in today's session here on the Russell. So be very mindful of that. So things happening this morning. Donald Trump media is on fire this morning. So it looks like we have turned the corner here on Donald Trump media. Uh, we got our October anchored view app support. This is our trend line. You go down on your 1 hour time frame here, or 30-minute, whatever. Let's go 1 hour, 2 hour, I guess. 2 hour. You see what's going on here. That is our October support. We are rocket shipping off that October support. At this point now, let's see here. This doesn't look like a big resistance area to me. Let me see on the daily real quick. I should already had this drawn out. I'm sorry. It does not look like any type of major resistance here. Your first major resistance is way up here on the daily. So you got that's your first major resistance on the daily time frame. I'll change the colors here in just a little bit on my own. The 4 hour, is that giving us any indication? No, not really. Nope. Maybe right here a little bit. Yeah, you do have a little bit of wicking here on the 4 hour. Right here at this price point. So right here, right where we're at, you got a little bit of a wicking action going on right there. See right there, that wick. There you go. So that's what's happening here. That's currently trading as support, that wick. So, that could be a top right there. Seeing that 4 hours giving us some resistance. This could be a top for today's session. Next one, we are into a fair value gap here on NVIDIA. We came right into the August. See that August low, the trend high, the trend line high. We came right into that yesterday. I mentioned that in the last video I had. Now we seem to be rejecting that uh, fair value gap, but we have not given up the October support yet. So we're right there. It could go either way. They could digest it up here, or we could actually lose our October trend early on in today's session. And it looks like in the pre-market we might have already come down and tagged it. And we came close to it. We haven't actually tagged it yet, but so be very mindful of that in today's session. And in full disclosure, I do have 5 contracts and short puts, inputs in NVIDIA from yesterday at near the close. So I got right up here into the close here. Went short NVIDIA. So I should be taking profits early this morning, and we'll see what happens. I kind of would have liked to see a little deeper sell off going into the open. So if we're taking out the day lows, I might keep them on. Otherwise, I might trim those shorts early on in the session. Looks like China lost a critical support in the overnight session, so be mindful of that. So guys, we do have Taiwan Semi reporting Thursday, so just be mindful here. So we've had 2 attempts to rally off of critical support here on Tesla already, and today we might be going right back into that support area. So be very mindful of that. I would have much rather seen a continuation early on in this morning's session. This is actually behaving like a very weak pattern early on this morning, suggesting the downside risk is probably still very much prevalent. So be mindful. So we're into a major call wall, the 195 area here on Taiwan Semi. Uh, we're also into a fair value gap area, so be mindful of that. Uh, so this chart kind of worries me, considering what all uh, where we've come from in such a short time. We had a big sell down on the last earnings announcement, so yeah, it gives me concern going into Thursday, given the chart pattern that I'm looking at. Early on this morning here, they're trying to bounce micro strategy. Had a wonderful move uh, Friday and gave it back, a lot of it back yesterday. They're still trying to turn $200 into critical support. There is a massive call wall there. Typically, in a bull market, you would see this become new support. And so far this morning, that's what they're trying to do. This is another one, guys. I entered in 5 contracts short Palantir yesterday at the close. So it hasn't broke yet, but it's giving me warning signs that this thing's about to break critical support. So definitely keep this on. I based my channel based off of August anchored VWAP, and this is uh, uh, September's anchored VWAP. So I think there's a really good chance that we can come back down to the September anchored VWAP for a back test. So keep that very much in mind. I didn't take this trade, but I was stalking it. This looks like it's about ready to break a critical support here on AMD. We might be doing it today. We might be breaking critical support. So definitely keep this one on watch here. Uh, this thing is looking quite suspect that we've put a high in, and they're willing to let this rotate lower. So we do have more bank earnings out today, and financials could just be walking the trend line up. So let's be mindful of that. Like I said early on this morning, we have a bid in yields or bid in bonds, suggesting yields are coming in. Uh, Ultimately, looking for a target of the 49 here on the financials. I mean, this is not something I want to short, but it's something that I do have on watch. So definitely keep this one in the back of your mind. I am stalking as a potential fair value gap rejection. Apple, potentially Apple as a fair value gap rejection today. So be very mindful of that. I'm looking towards the bearish side on Apple. That knowing that above pre-market highs, I would be that would be my stop. So be very mindful of that. I had I had mentioned yesterday about possibly going long Microsoft above 423, and we rejected up there, and we did not close at that 423. So this is actually closed as a bearish chart. Okay, so what the resistance does seem to be holding. So be very mindful of that. So both Apple and Microsoft both suggest to me we could have weakness today. Another one that's starting to look bearish to me, that's Meta. We have rejected the fair value gap and the massive call wall at $600. We are trading below the September trend. So we rejected that September trend yesterday, and we're currently trading back below that again today, suggesting we could actually come down and do a hard test of these prior lows today, base at 582 area. So be very mindful. Actually, a little bit lower than that, 581.50. We could be doing a hard test today here on Meta to the downside. So be mindful. Another one looks like a rejection of the fair value gap, and that's Amazon. So heads up, guys. I mean, these charts aren't looking too healthy for tech, so be mindful. Netflix is about to report, and we're currently trading under a very critical trend line, so be very mindful. Boeing continues to walk the trend down, and there's no sign that that has changed. Industrials still look like we could have some room to the upside, so I don't want to get overly bearish quite yet, but we're getting close. Utilities continue to get a bid here. We're breaking back above critical support. That's a warning that the discretionary areas of the market are probably not as good as what the markets are pricing in. XLE still in potentially backtesting the buy zone, so be very mindful of that. I wish it wouldn't have lost the October open though, so that's kind of more bearish than bullish. So be very mindful of that. Here, trying to buy the dip on energy is playing with dynamite, in my opinion. Okay, so please retweet me on Twitter if you get a chance. Like the video if you like it, and leave some comments if you're seeing stuff that I'm not seeing. But like I said, I think I was calling out yesterday that possibly we've already put the week high in, so uh, be very mindful of that and be careful in your trading. Thanks a lot for watching.